Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Beauty Authority. I'm Tatiana Bido, NewBeauty's Director of Aesthetic Content. And today we're talking about summer skin damage, which is so timely. We are right on the heels of summer. I have with me today the famed LA facialist Candace Marino. How are you?
So good. I'm excited to talk about this. It's definitely something I'm passionate about. And as I'm thinking about what we're discussing, I'm heading to Italy tomorrow and I'm like, gotta pack my
Oh,
SPF.
we are, like I said, we are headed full swing into summer. I'm already seeing sun damage showing up on my face. So, this is a very timely topic, and I'm so passionate about it as a melasma sufferer. It's for me, it's the best time of year and the worst time of year. Uh,
Agreed. I have melasma too, so it's near and dear to my heart. This is always something that I'm thinking of all year round, but especially when it comes to summer, knowing I'm going to be out more in the heat, it's definitely always something I'm thinking about.
and we can't really hide it, right? So, I mean, you can try, but it's reoccurring. But before we get into it, I want to talk about a little bit about how the LA facialist came to be. You are well known for your skin barrier first techniques, and I wanted to know, how did you build your point of view, and when did things really start taking off for you?
Yeah, so I've been an esthetician for 20 years. It's been my only career as an adult. It's like out of high school, that's what I decided to do, and I've stuck with it. So obviously, I've seen a lot of things. I've seen trends come and go. I've tried things myself, and I think a lot of the way I practice is based off of myself. As I mentioned earlier, I have melasma. I actually triggered my own melasma through taking a melanotan peptide shot. Have you heard of those?
Oh, yes. So, is that something you did recently?
No, I did this in my 20s, dumb idiot. I'm like see-through. I'm very
Yeah.
pale. And a friend of mine was taking it and had like the most beautiful tan. And he was like somebody that would naturally tan because he was half Hispanic. I'm white. Okay. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this because I was reading into it. And it's like, if you take this, it increases your melanocyte activity, which is what protects your skin from DNA damage. So I'm like, okay, this is going to allow me to be tan. It's going to protect my skin. So I took it without really knowing what the consequences were. When I tell you that my skin literally turned into full face melasma quite instantly,
Wow.
devastating because here I think I'm doing something that's going to protect me from getting sunburn and make me able to tan more evenly. That is literally what triggered my melasma. My skin was perfectly white and pristine before that. I
Yeah.
regret it so much. And so I know peptides are really popular. And when people bring up that one, I'm like, I don't want to scare anybody, but when you take something like that, it indiscriminately fires up your melanocytes. So it's not like, okay, we're going to get even. It's like you already have freckles, those will darken. You have sunspots on your face, those will darken.
Right.
So that's kind of my story. And I think that because I talk openly about having melasma, I've attracted that type of clientele. But
Mhm.
no matter what type of skin condition you're dealing with, inflammation is at the root of every skin process. And then barrier is also one of the top priorities when we're talking about any skin condition.
That's so fascinating because that is one of the peptide shots that's gaining more and more popularity right now. So you were way
Mhm.
ahead of the curve,
Yeah.
but what can you tell people who are thinking about doing the glow stacks, doing
Yeah.
the melanotan? Are you for them, or and are you seeing a difference with your own clientele who are taking these things?
Yeah. Well, I personally take a ton of peptides. I'm on the BPC 157 and the copper, which I think is like the glow stack. I don't
Yeah.
my provider prescribes them separately. Um, I'm all about them. I've seen such a difference in my own skin. And then I take a lot for just like immunity and just like vitality. And I feel great on my peptides. I was actually in Korea last week and I forgot them and I felt a difference. So I'm pro
Wow.
peptides for sure. But because of my own experience with the melanotan, I'm like, nope, I'm not
Stay
recommending.
away from that one.
Unless you're already somebody who perhaps tans well, but if you do tan well, like you don't really need it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That one I'm
But
gonna
you
say
bring up a good point, right? You can't pick and choose where it's going to darken your skin, right? So
like
anywhere that you have existing anything,
yes.
it's
And
going to
so
show
many
up
people are
more.
dealing with pigment issues, right? So like a lot of women and men suffer from like darkening of the elbows, maybe
Hmm.
areolas, private parts, like creases of skin. So if you have any pigment concern on your body whatsoever, that's going to be a hard no.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you see skin up close every single day. What are you noticing right now as we head into summer that the average person might not be doing that we should be doing?
Well, obviously I'm going to be an advocate of sunscreen, and we need to be using sunscreen 365 if you care about preserving the health and the beauty and vitality of your skin. I know
Yeah,
there's a huge conversation going on right now that's anti-sunscreen and pro-sun. And while I do believe that the sun is obviously like giver of life and it's beneficial and it's necessary for human life, I do think that we need to be cautious with the sun. I do know that sun is directly related to creating cancers in the skin. So I am kind of somewhere in the middle where I do believe that we need to have that sun exposure, but I also believe we need to be doing it safely. So I'm always an advocate of sunscreen. I'm always an advocate of always using an antioxidant serum. Those serums are basically, I call them the insurance policy on your sunscreen because you're still getting UV rays and it's definitely, you're not 100% accurate every time you apply sunscreen, right? So there
right.
are still UV rays penetrating into the skin. You might miss some spots. And what's going to happen when you have a good vitamin C or antioxidant serum is it coats and protects those cells. So when the UV rays enter the skin, it's going to be less likely to damage those skin cells. And when you damage the skin cells, you're creating pigmentation, you're breaking down collagen, you're breaking down elastin. And that's when we see accelerated signs of aging. So, in my opinion, doing a good skincare routine and sticking with it is like what you can do to protect your skin. And that needs to be considered all year round.
And what about, well, what would you recommend in terms of SPF and an antioxidant serum? What are your favorites?
Ah, this is such a good question. I obviously have a lot of favorites. It's so hard to choose. Sunscreen, I'm always recommending 30 and above. That's the standard. I like a combination of chemical and physical. And I know that people get weird about the chemical, but I like a combination because physical sunscreen is only going to be effective where it's applied perfectly. So if you're just rubbing it on and you don't get a perfect application, that's when I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I've definitely seen streaks. I'm like, okay, there's a strip of red and the
Yeah.
rest is fine. So I personally, if I'm going to be in a lot of sun, I do a layer of chemical sunscreen first, and then I put the mineral on top, the physical
Hmm.
sunscreen. So I like a combination of both. Some of my favorites, though, Skin Better Science makes some of the best mineral formulas out there. They are the highest level of minerals. So they have their SPF starting at 55 and going up all the way to 75, I believe. They have both tinted and sheer. I wear the tinted every day. That's kind of like what my makeup is. And then I do like bronzer and blush on top of that. But it just blurs imperfections. It makes the skin look gorge. And I love that.
I love their little compact too because it's a little cream
Yes.
tinted sunscreen that's solid and it's
Hmm.
great for touch ups or just if you're doing a Zoom or you want to protect from blue light even. Yeah.
You can reapply it right on top of makeup too throughout the day, which is great. And yes, another thing that's big about sunscreens is that blue light factor, right? Because we're
Mhm.
always that stuff is just hitting us all day long.
Right.
So yeah, blue light protection is huge. Is Clinical Extreme Protect SPF 30 is one of my all
Love.
times.
Mhm.
Yeah, that one, it's not just a sunscreen, it's actually packed with antioxidants. It has their own extreme enzyme technology, which basically is another layer of protection for the skin and prevents oxidative stress from the environment, from blue light. And it's also really nourishing. So if somebody's a minimalist and they're like, I'm not going to use a bunch of steps in the morning, that's your one and done. If you wash
Yeah.
your face and put that on, you have your antioxidants, you have your moisturizer, and you have your sunscreen.
That's a good one too. They have a 30 and a 50. So you recommend at least using the 30. Yeah.
The 50 is actually their physical. That's their it's called Eclipse 50. So that's a mineral SPF. But
Yeah.
that's because the Extreme Protect 30 was so popular, they actually made it in a 40 mineral only. So they have a few options now at Is Clinical, but I would say those are like my top two brands for sunscreen, specifically for the face. Yeah.
And we love a one and done, right? Like make it easy. Make it easy on yourself.
And then for antioxidants, I carry so many brands in my office. And the reason I do is because sometimes people will be sensitive to certain ingredients. And then there's so many other forms of vitamin C that have additional benefits. So I really look at formula and I want to be able to treat all different skin types and conditions. So I have a ton of options.
Mhm.
I would say top favorites. Back to Skin Better, the Alto Advance. It's their vitamin C plus 17 other antioxidants. So you get like a very comprehensive formula that not only protects the skin, but also corrects damage that's already been done. So I love that. And then again, of course, you can't not mention Is Clinical. Their vitamin Cs are amazing. Pro Heal is probably my favorite for anybody that has sensitive skin, anybody who is rosacea prone, anybody who has a weakened barrier because it's very healing. It has olive leaf extract in it, which is very nourishing. And then Sente makes an amazing vitamin C. It's called Defense C.
Mhm.
Again, a great form of fat soluble vitamin C, coats and protects the cells. It's also very hydrating and barrier repairing. And that's
And
the
good for sensitive skin too.
yes, that's what I
Yeah.
was gonna say. If
Yeah.
something's like, I can't use vitamin C,
Yeah.
every vitamin C has caused a problem, that's the one that I'm like, just try it and no issues. So I love that. It's definitely a hero product.
What if someone, let's say me, comes in after a weekend in the sun and I'm saying, okay, what can we do right now to turn this around? I have an
Yeah.
event in 3 weeks and you're just seeing darkness.
We want to definitely start by calming the inflammation. Inflammation is the cause of everything in skin. As I mentioned previously, we want to calm, we want to soothe, we want to rehydrate because when you've been in the sun, it's not just the sun, it's the heat. And then
Right.
there's probably some water activity involved, and both chlorine and salt are going to strip the skin as well. So we
Yeah.
just want to replenish, we want to nourish. If somebody's coming into my office after a lot of sun exposure, we're not doing any exfoliants, we're not doing anything to kind of aggravate or stimulate the skin. It's all about calming. So, what I'm
Right.
going to initially go into is a healing protocol. And that usually is going to involve either or both. I love the lipid masks from Epicutis, and these are something that people can buy and use at home. I always say if you're going on a trip, you need to bring these masks with you because you should be applying them right after the sun, not only
Mm.
to re nourish the skin, but also to protect the skin from that flare that can happen, especially if you have melasma. I tell people we want to calm and cool the skin as fast as we can after sun exposure. So I would start with something like that in my office. I would usually put you under some sort of oxygen with a lot of nourishing, healing, hydrating serums. And then, are you familiar with the CO2 Lift Pro masks?
Yes. Yes. That's a
Godsend. Those things are the before and after on those are nuts, but it's carboxy therapy. And what that means is we're putting carbon dioxide on the tissue. And so just like we breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide, we're doing it in reverse. So we're oxygenating the skin by putting that carbon dioxide on the tissue to activate our oxygenation. So it's creating basically like cellular respiration. The skin cells are going to be infused with oxygen and nutrients and blood flow. And it's basically, you can consider it like an internal oxygen facial. So, anytime somebody's experienced any sort of trauma to the skin, any overexposure of sun, heat, if somebody has an impaired barrier, that's something that I'm reaching to because it's not just a hydrator, it's actually creating something at a cellular level that's going to help improve the skin. It's also good post procedure. So, if somebody has had a laser, a peel, or even surgery. I know some doctors are now, after the suture, they're
mm.
applying the mask and it accelerates
Yes.
healing.
Yeah.
So those are something to always have in the back pocket too.
It sounds like you're putting your skin through triage.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like it's respirating for you. So it's
Right.
definitely something that I recommend, and that would be part of the protocol for sure if somebody came in right from sun.
You mentioned a compromised barrier, and barrier repair is everywhere right now, but you've been talking about it for a really long time, long before it's been trending. What does a compromised barrier look like?
So many signals that I look for. Number one is going to be dehydration. When you see dehydration in the skin is going to look a little bit tight. Sometimes it can almost look glassy and stretched. And that's When you see that, it's usually after something that has induced inflammation, either heat or sun or both. So the skin can look a little like almost like shiny, right? After sun
Mhm.
exposure. And that shows you dehydration in the skin for sure. Also, your lines and wrinkles are going to seem deeper, more noticeable. You'll see increased texture. You'll also see in the lips, that's a telltale sign of dehydration. They're gonna look kind of deflated.
Mhm.
You'll see more of the lines, and then they're gonna feel definitely dry. Same thing around the eyes. Lines are gonna be deeper. You're gonna feel
Mhm.
dryness. Everything's gonna feel tight. And then there's a redness component, especially after sun exposure. It's going to dilate the blood vessels. So the skin, you could see diffuse redness. You can also be a little bit blotchy. Another telltale sign is going to be like if you press and you see a color change, that usually indicates some sun activity. And then back to the dehydration, you're going to feel it. You're going to totally feel it. And I think we've all experienced that before when we come in from the sun and you're just like everything's tight, it hurts to smile. Uh,
Mhm.
those are going to be telltale signs of barrier issues. And then just prolonged dryness, skin will feel more reactive to things that it usually doesn't get frazzled by. So maybe you'll put on a cleanser and you're like, wow, that stings and it's not supposed
Mhm.
to. That's definitely an indication that we have a compromised barrier.
And flakiness sometimes, right? Like
For
I
sure.
can sometimes get it around my nose,
Yep.
or I did, not to make it about me,
About you.
but since I have you, I
Yeah.
did dermaplaning and I had never done it before. And it was done in a professional setting, but my skin hated it.
Really.
And yes. And so I had like this patch of redness, flakiness, darkness.
You know what I think happened? I think it's user error. I don't think it's the dermaplaning itself because I've had people come to me for dermaplaning and they're like, I've had this before, it went really badly. I think people go too deep. And I think that they
Mm,
probably did too much physical exfoliation in that area and it
yeah.
caused a little sensitivity. I think when it comes to dermaplaning, it's all about prep and what you do immediately post. I, knock on wood, don't have issues with dermaplaning, and I've done it
Yeah.
on people that are like, it's a no for me. So I
Yeah.
think it could have been from that. But you're correct. Dermaplaning absolutely can disrupt the barrier if we're doing it on somebody that has maybe been using too many chemicals. They're maybe already over exfoliated. So it's always about selecting the right person for that treatment at the
Right.
right time. So maybe when you had it, your skin wasn't in the right shape for it, or it could have been user error. Nobody
Yeah.
knows. But it's not a no. We might be able to do it again.
Yeah, I think I've just been giving everything a rest for a while, which is
That's
usually
fair.
my MO because I have super reactive skin. But that brings
Totally.
me to my next question.
Yeah.
When it comes to in-office treatments, when we do have a compromised barrier or we've had too much sun, what is worth doing and what should we just skip?
Really want to just do the things that are going to calm, soothe, hydrate, and heal. I have a device here, the glacial machine. I don't know if you've heard of the
I
glacial.
have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really nice, cooling, calming. It's great for any inflammatory condition. So a lot of times we're doing it on people with acne, rosacea, psoriasis, eczema, and then of course melasma. Melasma loves the cold, hates the heat.
Yeah.
So anything that's going to calm and cool is perfect. So we could do something like that without the exfoliating step because that device actually does have some exfoliation with it. I have another device called Mesojet, which is basically a needle-free mesotherapy. So it delivers serums deep into the layers of skin without disrupting the barrier. So something like that with the right nourishing serums could be beneficial because it's basically going to replenish your skin instantly. So I could reach for that. Love my oxygen dome with a nice hydrating mask on. That would be beneficial, but you definitely want to avoid anything exfoliating, absolutely not to dermaplaning, no microdermabrasion, no hydrofacial, nothing that will physically exfoliate. So that includes scrubs. And then we're avoiding chemicals for sure. We don't need to be reaching for chemicals at this time. We really just need to focus on getting the barrier back together and supporting it with nourishing, hydrating ingredients.
Okay, I was going to ask you for your top 3 desert island skincare picks, but you just came from Korea.
Yeah.
So I think that's a much more interesting conversation to have. What did you see that really excited you over there? And what do you think you'll be incorporating into your practice?
Well, I did notice that everything there is about barrier. from what I've gathered, and I went to an amazing doctor there, and I had him go to the pharmacy with me and kind of tell me what he would choose. And we did have a little bit of different opinions on things. And he was like, listen, estheticians know way more than doctors about skincare. So I'll take a page from your book. But we agreed to disagree on things and we both learned from each other. He said that Korean skincare is really about protecting the barrier and doing things in a gentle way. So when they use acids, it's very gentle. Whereas here, I feel like we blast ourselves with
Yeah.
acids and exfoliants, and guilty as charged because I love a good acid situation. I feel that there's a happy medium, right? We don't want to over exfoliate, but I also don't think people need to be afraid of using acid based products. It's really about getting to know your skin and doing it in a way that's not going to aggravate yourself. But everything there was like, even if it was exfoliating, it also was barrier supportive. So they were like very big on like the hydration and that bouncy, glowy skin. Whereas I feel in the States, we get the bouncy, glowy skin because we're like over exfoliating and
Right.
maybe it doesn't create bouncy. It creates glowy, but a lot of times the barrier is impaired.
Right.
So I think what I learned there is definitely incorporating more supportive ingredients in the skin. Also, I had the pleasure of going to the Biodance headquarters, and
Wow.
I learned the founder's story, which I had no idea. She was actually in like a horrible accident, which left her with scarring. And so she discovered the hydrogel technology, which is so soothing and
Hmm.
healing for the skin. So I learned all about that. I love those
I
masks.
love those masks.
Those
They're
are my favorite
amazing.
after a trip and you're on a plane because you know when you put on a normal sheet mask and then it dries out and then you peel it
Right.
off, great, I just peeled my skin. Those are meant to stay on for long haul. So if you
Hmm.
put it on a
I
plane,
like that they get hard so that you know when it's kind of
yes,
done doing its thing. And I
yes,
also love anything that what it says on the packaging is what it does. And it's
totally.
like so user friendly. It's the
Yeah.
best. So we
Yeah, you
love those.
messed that one up because
Yeah.
I'm definitely fallen asleep on a plane with a traditional sheet mask, and when I peel it off, I'm like, "Oh my god, this just ruined everything." But
Yeah.
those are hydrating, they're meant to stay on for hours at a time, so that's, like, the safe bet for a plane for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're great. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation, and we love your advice all the time. So, thank you for being such a great resource for New Beauty, and we really appreciate it.
Anytime, I'm so happy to have the opportunity, and it's always great to speak with you, so thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Until next time.
Bye.